Hello everyone and welcome to Just K. If you're a subscriber, thank you for joining me again. I'm glad to have you. If you're new here, consider clicking on that subscribe button and the notification bell. Help your sister out. You may not be feeling this vibe, but I bet you know someone who is and can benefit and be inspired by these videos. In the last video, I told you we were going to talk about something that is getting my goat right now. Let's get into it. We're going to talk about racism and its systemic origins. If you've seen my video about the medical disparities, which I will pin here, you will understand that this is a systemic problem that goes deep. I feel like for whatever reason, when people think of racism, they think of the men with the white caps over their head and lynching, and it's beyond that. It's deeper than that, and there are so many things that need to be talked about. The first thing I want you to think about, regardless of your race, is this. If the mantra Black Lives Matter bother you, you need to understand that if all lives really did matter to you, the Black Lives Matter mantra wouldn't need to be in existence. If you don't understand all of the things that to this day, police killings, medical deaths that don't have to happen, being pushed out of places that your family has been raised in, these are all part of a systemic racism thing. So when you hear the word systemic racism, we're talking about a system. We're not talking about a direct white person unless you individually participate. I hear a lot of people say all white people benefit from systemic racism in America. That's very true. It doesn't make you a complete racist unless you knowingly contribute to those systems. What does that mean? That means that our country was founded on, and I said this in the last video, in our Constitution, it only gives black people, 3/5 human, and that never changes. We'll get more to the Constitution in a minute. The first thing I want to do is talk about the American Medical Association, because I find it interesting that the American Medical Association, whose job is really to promote science and the art of medicine, actually comes out and announces systemic racism as a serious health threat in this country. Now, why would the American Medical Association say that when our own president won't actually say it, and our own vice president, though she tried to tidy it up at the end, says that we do not have a racist country? They said that because the laws in effect, that have been in effect since our Constitution, literally gives the right of life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness to white men. There are amendments, but those amendments move on to include white women. There is nothing in the Constitution that, or any amendments thereof, that admit that we are full-on human beings. And it doesn't matter if you know, I know black people, it doesn't matter. What matters is this. Our Constitution, which all of our laws, both federal and state, are made on, says that black folks are only 3/5 human, 3 parts human, and are not considered citizens. I know about the amendment abolishing slavery, but that amendment also says that no slavery will be practiced in the United States unless a person has committed a crime, and I think there are a few other things in that amendment. I know that there's also another amendment in the Constitution that says something to the effect that don't let the a prior amendment be construed in a particular way, but it still doesn't talk about, there's no amendment that says black people should be treated with the equal rights as any other citizen in the United States. No, of course, I don't expect the government to go change the Constitution, but did you know that the last amendment to the Constitution was in 1992, having something to do with Congress? So what is it that makes people so uncomfortable with race? What is it that would make a person of any race, but especially a person of black race, stand up and say racism does not exist in America? Until we get to the nitty-gritty of it, until we understand that there's a law, a constitutional law, that allows people to mistreat black people in this United States, we're not going to get anywhere. We will continue to be appeased. Okay, I'm going to do this for you. And every time we're told from our government that something is going to be done to end discrimination, is the word they'll use, racial discrimination, racial disparity. It's never anything specifically for black people, but it's a lot of appeasement going on, and we'll beat around the bush and make them think we're doing well. Why is that all you get? Because again, the Constitution, and what's the president's job? First and foremost, the president's job is to defend the Constitution of the United States. What's the vice president's job? To defend the Constitution of the United States. And since we know that the government job, the highest office in this land, is to defend the Constitution, if we know that there's nothing in the Constitution that defends you or says that you are entitled to equal rights, what makes you think anybody's going to give it to you? And if you are not a black person and you feel like because we are no longer on plantations and that we are able to work, right, that racism doesn't exist, you're sadly mistaken. So then it makes me come to the question, well, what makes, regardless of your race, what makes you uncomfortable talking about race? What makes you uncomfortable talking about the thing that a group of people continually suffer from, to the point that the American Board of Psychology actually considers it something you can get post-traumatic stress syndrome from? Does that sound crazy to you? Really being raised told that you're nothing, being raised having your skin mocked, being raised called a monkey, being raised followed through stores, being raised as a black man told that the best position for you is with your hands on the hood of a car. How is that not stressful? I think it's time to look at your discomfort. Whether it's, you can't make a thing not exist in your head and then just take away its existence. It's here, it needs to be dealt with. And I feel like if we're really uncomfortable with this talk, and if we're really tired of talking about it, let's do something about it. We have to get our government to do something about it, literally. Of all the forms of inequity and injustice, the ones that happen in healthcare is the most shocking and inhumane. That's a quote from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. at a medical conference he did back when he was alive. The thing that angered me the most was seeing so many people stand up and say racism doesn't exist, or why do black people do this if this is this? Why are you so uncomfortable? Why is it we can skirt around the issue, right, but we can't really dig in and understand? Is it that benefit you get from pretending it doesn't exist? Look into that and tell me, are you really benefiting regardless of your race? Do you really benefit? Think about the legacy you leave to your children if this is not addressed. I say in my videos over and over and over again, let's all get to the point where we're understanding that we're saving ourselves, and let's save ourselves. That's really what we have to do. Do I enjoy making another person uncomfortable? Absolutely not. But my gosh, I've been uncomfortable for 50 years. My parents were uncomfortable before me. Their parents were uncomfortable before them, and on and on and on. So I'm feeling some type of way that I have to remain uncomfortable so that you don't have to deal with your discomfort. There's no middle ground. Let's be uncomfortable together and talk this out so everybody can be comfortable. Because I feel like when a person, especially a Caucasian person, refuses to acknowledge or talk about race because they're uncomfortable, to me, you're just being racist, intentionally or unintentionally. Because now it's like, okay, I don't like that, so you can't do it. And I think that's part of the problem, that Constitution that makes it okay for the individuals in the white community who look down on and expect people of color to do their bidding. It's not okay. And it needs to be addressed. So let's deal with your discomfort if that's what we have to do. Take a minute. Let's take a minute and let's talk about your discomfort if that's what we need to do to move on. Me loving myself, loving my culture doesn't take away my love for you. So why is it a problem? Me understanding and learning my true history, something that has been taken from me and changed and robbed of my ancestors, is a beautiful thing. Why should that bother you? And why does that mean I'm putting you down? I'm taking time for myself. And I think that's a good thing, right? Understanding and learning the greatness of my culture doesn't mean I need to put your culture down. And it doesn't mean I can't appreciate you or what you do. Hate in any form is wrong. Hate crimes against any person is wrong. But honey, that includes black people too. And the things you're seeing now have been going on. It's this social media, the beauty of social media, that's allowing you to actually see the very things that you don't want to pay attention to. So fix the discomfort and stop avoiding it so that we can all be healthy, happy, and prosperous together. The oppressor can't define oppression. So stop trying to do that. If you want to understand the truth about racism, which exists all around the world, if you want to understand the truth about racism here in this country that we are in, look at the Constitution and then follow the laws from there to today. It's as clear as day, it's clear as bell. It's not right, it's not fair. Systemic racism is an organized system to keep a certain group of people from excelling, whether individually participated in or not. Individual racism is an individual who uses stereotypes or things of that nature to bash or down another race based on their beliefs. So when you hear people talk about systemic racism, you hear us talking about the laws, from the Constitution to the laws that allow insurance companies to be exacting on who they give the cheapest insurances to the disparities in healthcare that even today with the vaccines going on, who's getting vaccines? Which vaccines are going into the red-lined neighborhoods? To the grocery stores and the food quality that goes into those neighborhoods. It's everywhere. It's hard to escape it because we cannot escape this skin. period. We can do this together. You can understand that when I say I'm tired of racism, I'm not saying I'm tired of you specifically, unless you're an individual who participates actively, overtly, or secretly in a racist culture, a culture that demeans and denies people of color, black people specifically. So something that's really bothering me, something that's really been eating at my heart, and the thing that made me think about it was the video I just did on fear of death. I don't know what I'm not going to try to tell you what your fear is. I'm just saying, let's work it out. That's all for today, you guys. Rant for today is over, but I will see you next time. Again, like, subscribe, click on that notification bell if I haven't scared you away yet, because we've got some good stuff coming up. And I'll see you next time.